Okay, good day, everybody. We're gonna get into week two of this slide. Guys, remember when we go live for class two, I want you guys to understand that we're also going to be going over slide one stuff. So make sure you guys know your slide one and your slide two in order for you guys to get your attendance marks and participation marks. Okay. All right. So we'll be talking about a bunch of different things in this slide. One of them is capitalism. So what is capitalism? It is an economic system in which private individuals or businesses own capital goods. The production of goods and services is based on supply and demand in the general market, known as a market economy, rather through central planning, known as a planned economy or a command economy. The purest form of capitalism is free market or laissez-faire capitalism. Here, private individuals are unrestrained. They may determine where to invest, what to produce or sell, and at which prices to exchange goods and services. The laissez-faire marketplace operates without checks or controls. Today, most countries practice a mixed capitalist system that includes some degree of government regulation of business and ownership of select industries. So basically, not a lot of places are only capitalism, which is, um, anybody like you, me, anyone can come out with a new product or service or business and charge whatever we want, right? So a lot of countries now are doing a mixed, right? So some stuff the government controls, and then some stuff the just regular people control. Okay, so that's basically what capitalism is when every individual has a right to do whatever they want, put whatever number price on whatever they want. Okay, it's not regulated by the government, and as opposed to as opposed to central planning, which is known as a planned economy or command economy. That's where the government controls everything, pricing and everything. So capitalism and private property. So private property rights are fundamental to capitalism. Most modern concepts of private property stem from John Locke's theory of homesteading, in which human beings claim ownership through mixing their labor with unclaimed resources. Once owned, the only legitimate means of transferring property are through voluntary exchange, gifts, inheritance, or re-homesteading of abandoned property. Okay? This is basically talking about your properties that you own. Private property promotes efficiency by giving the owner of resources incentive to maximize the value of their property. So the more valuable the resources, the more trading power it provides the owner. In capitalist system, the person who owns the property, this is very key. In a capitalist system, the person who owns a property is entitled to any value associated with that property. Okay? So basically, in a capitalist system, if you own something, you are entitled to all of the value that you believe you deserve from that property. For individuals or businesses to deploy their capital goods confidently, a system must exist that protects their legal right to own or transfer private property. A capitalist society relies on the use of contracts, fair dealing, and tort law to facilitate and enforce these private property rights. Guys, this is basically what happens in Canada, right? You own, let's say you own a home, right? You can you can exchange it with somebody. You can gift it to somebody without having to pay taxes. You can get an inheritance of this property, right, of the home or jewelry or whatever it is. So in a capitalist society, like basically where we live, in order for a business or an individual to use their property as the way that they like to use it, they need to have they need to have contracts and laws and all this stuff in order. So basically, the way everything works is a contracts and agreements. Okay. Um, let's see, what a common for resource which all people can use. Well, there's something also called when a property is not privately owned but shared by the public, a problem known as the tragedy of the commons can emerge. So basically, a bunch of people have their share of this public property where they can use and they can do whatever they want. So let's not get too much into that. So what's economic freedom? Economic freedom is a fundamental right of every human to control his or own labor and property. In an economically free society, individuals are free to work, produce, consume, and invest in any way they please. In economically free societies, governments allow labor, capital, and goods to move freely and refrain from coercion or constraint of liberty beyond the extent necessary to protect and maintain liberty itself. Basically, what this is saying is, an economic freedom means individuals who live, for example, individuals who live in Canada, they have the right to work, they have the right to invest, they have the right to control their own assets, they have the right to do whatever the hell they want with their money. Okay? So that's basically what economic freedom is, being able to do whatever you want with your own uh, being able to do whatever you want with your money and your time. That's economic freedom. Okay? What are the benefits of economic freedom? So economic freedom brings greater prosperity. Prosperity means you bring greater wealth, greater success. So economic freedom brings greater wealth and success to individuals and countries. The ideals of economic freedom are strongly associated with healthier societies, cleaner environments, greater per capita wealth, human development, democracy, and poverty elimination. Okay, guys, so when you're living in a economically free country, majority of the times, your your country is doing better than other countries that are not economically free. Okay, like we said, right? Cleaner environments, poverty is eliminated, uh, greater wealth per capita, right? So how do you measure economic freedom? We measure economic freedom on 12 quantitative and qualitative factors grouped into four broad categories or pillars of economic freedom. So the four pillars of economic freedom or categories of economic freedom are rule of law, which are property rights, government integrity, judicial effectiveness. So this is basically how do you judge if a country is economically free? Okay? So basically rule of law. Property rights, government integrity, judicial effectiveness basically means people's rights to property that they own. Government integrity means how um, how honest is the government in their spending and their behaviors and their processes. Judicial effectiveness. How effective and honest is the judicial system? Are the judges, are the laws, right? How effective are they? Are they biased towards just a certain type of people, or are they fair to everybody? So government size, right? Government spending, tax burden, fiscal health. You need to look at the government's, how the government's doing basically as a business, as a whole. How much debt do they owe? How much money do they make? How much, where do they stand? That's another way of measuring economic freedom. Regulatory efficiency, so business freedom, labor freedom, monetary freedom. So in this situation, basically what they're saying is regulatory efficiency is how open and how free are people to do business, how free are people to work, how free are people um, to do what they want in terms of working and making money. And then open markets, right? So trade freedom, investment freedom, and financial freedom. So are they able to invest in whatever they want to invest in? Are they able to trade whatever they want to trade? Are they able to have financial freedom, as in, you have money and you're making money off of investments and you get to live without having to do anything? That's called financial freedom. So these are the four basic categories of economic freedom. If you want to see if a company is economically free, you look at these things. Each of the 12 economic freedoms in these categories is graded on a scale from 0 to 100. A country overall scores derived by averaging these 12 economic freedoms. Okay, basically that's it on that. Equal opportunity. So, equal opportunity, guys. Just like the name says, is basically An idea that people ought to be able to compete on equal terms or on a level playing field for advantaged offices and positions. I know a lot of people from third world countries or developing countries move to the US and Canada or move to Europe because they're looking for an equal opportunity. I know a lot of the people in India, a lot of Punjabis, people from Punjab they don't have equal opportunities. They're getting, they're just getting beat up by all these different sects and stuff of all these religions and all Hindus and all these guys, Muslims fighting each other, and they have all these things that are going on, and it's not equal opportunity, right? There's a bunch of segregism. There's a bunch of hate, and there's a lot of people want to just leave India and come to Canada for a better life, for equal opportunity. So proponents of equal opportunity believe that the principle is compatible with and indeed may justify inequalities of outcomes of some sort. But there's a considerable disagreement over precisely to what degree and what kind of inequalities it justifies and how it does so. Okay, basically equal opportunity, right? Okay, so in this slide, business ethics and profitability. What we're going to do here is discuss the difference between, or the relationship between, doing business in an ethical manner and the effect that that has on profitability. Okay? So, if you have a business that's doing everything right and it's making people's lives better and it's making their lives easier and it's ethical, they're not harming the environment, they're not harming people, none of that stuff. What does that do for how much money they make, how successful that business is? So high standards of organizational ethics can contribute to profitability by reducing the cost of business transactions, building a foundation of trust with stakeholders, contributing to internal environments of successful teamwork, and maintaining social capital that is part of an organization's marketplace image. Okay, so being a company that does things ethically, that is customer oriented, is environmentally oriented, and is just trying to do the best for society. Okay, so you see, it builds a foundation of trust with stakeholders. Well, let's start with reducing the cost of business transactions. So if you're a company that is ethically that does business ethically, you're going to have a lot more suppliers who are going to want to give you their product because they know you're going to pay on time. They know you're going to get paid. They know you're going to pay them on time. You're going to pay them within the 30 days. You're not going to try and extend it or talk about, oh, we need an extension. Oh, please give us this. They're going to want to give you more business, and in turn, what you can do is find more companies that are willing to give you a better price on what you're currently purchasing, so your costs can get reduced. Building a foundation of trust with stakeholders. Guys, investors in a company are highly, highly, highly important. For example, Amazon, probably the biggest company in the world. The owner of that company only owns 6% of that company. The rest is invested. 94% is invested by different people. So it's imperative for companies who are trying to scale, who are trying to get to the next level, it's imperative for them to have investors, right? So if you're doing a business that is ethically correct and morally correct and is making people's lives better, investors are more willing to invest in a company like that, as opposed to a company that's destroying the environment, is getting very bad feedback from the government, from environmentalists. Customers are complaining that the products are horrible and all that stuff. So very hard to get investors when you have negative news about your company in the market. For example, if a company is making it a public company, for example, has the New York Times or Reuters or one of these big news outlets, they put out a negative story about these companies, you'll see that these companies' stock prices, they just plummet. They plummet. And they plummet because of the news, right? Investors get scared. Investors start pulling out their money because they're like, oh, this company's not doing well, pull out their money. Once the investors start pulling out their money, the company's stock falls, right? Contributing to an internal environmental successful teamwork, guys. Most most talent, the best talent in the world wants to go to the most ethically ran companies because they want to feel like if you're someone who has a tremendous amount of skill and companies are willing to pay for that, you want to go to a company that is morally ethically correct because if you go there you get to work in a team and stuff and feel in place. Now if you go to a company where everyone is just of one skin color and you're the only person there who is of another skin color, that's not going to be fun for you because you're not going to, you're going to face some sort of racism, some sort of cultural difference and cultural shock because everyone is behaving one way and you're from a different place. So you're the outlier, right? So people like to be in places where where you can have a successful team. Maintaining social capital that is part of an organization's marketplace image. Basically just doing things that make the company's image grow. So what do ethically profitable companies focus on? Okay, so if you're a company that is doing really well and you're making a ton of money and you're ethically doing it and you're doing everything right, what do those companies focus on? Guys, we're talking about this because you're going to end up one day working for a company or starting your own company, right? And you want to make sure that your companies, if you want to get them to a point where they can have longevity, right? If you want it to be running for years and years and years and years, you need to focus on a few different things. Okay, so leadership by example, right? So whoever's running the company needs to be a leader and show this is how you do the work, and you lead by example. Company-wide ethical awareness. You have to have everybody understanding that the ethics of business. Strong management of revenue generation and reporting. High level of internal trust. Formal and active compliance program. So basically, a formal active compliance program is you're putting in compliance agreements and programs for everyone around the entire company on how to behave and how to basically behave in society and also behave in the company in order for the company to grow. You'll see sometimes where people who get caught on camera, right? They get caught doing something stupid on camera, and their companies, becomes public. Millions of people see it. Their companies end up firing them. Why? Because those companies need to keep an ethical image, and they can't have people who are completely unethical working for their company because it's a bad image on them. So they end up firing those people. So what are the reasons that ethical business leads to profitability? Like we talked about before, ethical leaders have productive workers. Okay, so when you have an ethical company, you're gonna have ethical leaders, and when you have ethical leaders, you have productive workers. So people like to work for they have to put their heart and sweat and their blood into a company that they know is doing the right thing, right? Ethical business practices can reduce costs, like we said, right? Consumers want to spend money with ethical organizations. This is another big thing, right? You want to spend a lot of millennials and Gen Z, they're looking more at what companies are going to give us the best, well, first off, the best product, and second, what are they doing for the environment? What are they doing for society? What is this company doing? So they like to look at those things as well. So you spend money on trying to give back to those people. For example, for me, I love the UFC, I love MMA, I love mixed martial arts, I love fighting, right? So when I see when I see a really nice like every UFC usually is a big deal for me. So I go and I buy the pay-per-view. I don't, even though I could illegally stream it, I don't do that. I go and purchase a pay-per-view. Why do I do that? Because I love what the UFC is doing. I love how they have continued through the pandemic putting on fights that we all love to see, we all want to see. That's why I love the UFC. That's why I give them the money. You know, a lot of my friends, they know that about me. I'm not going to illegally stream the fights. I'll go put the money there because I want to support what the UFC is doing. So capitalism in Canada is an economic system in which capitalism is an economic system in which private owners control a country's trade and business sector for their personal profit. Okay, in contrast with communism, in which property effectively belongs to the state. Canada has a mixed economy, position between these extremes. Like we said, guys, most of the countries have a mixed economy. Canada also has a mix. So Canada has capitalism and also communism. The three levels of government decide how to allocate much of the country's wealth through taxing and spending. So in Canada, you have the federal government, provincial government, municipal government. I don't know how many governments you have. Three governments apparently, and they all decide how the country's wealth is spent through taxing, right? So all the taxes, they decide what happens to the taxes, but you decide what happens with the money you make. Businesses decide what happens with the money they make. After they pay their taxes, whatever money they have left, they can decide whatever they want to do. Invest, reinvest, purchase land, purchase whatever they want. That's capitalism. But then the taxes, the government decides, okay, let's fix the roads, let's build these hospitals, let's take care of this. That's the type of stuff. Guys, that's it. End of slides. We will be seeing you guys in class. We'll be discussing slides 1, slides 2. Boom.